Hello, my friends. It's Jonathan at the Piano Lesson. Welcome back. Um, I'd like to go over a great song called Blue Bossa, great jazz standard, and I'd like to talk about how to learn a song using Blue Bossa, and also how to make your own exercises out of a song. Because that's the best way to learn, is to find something about the song that is indicative of the song, that's unique about the song, and then see if you can't explore that aspect. So Blue Bossa has really interesting harmonies in it. It's a very compact song. You know, it's like a nicely made watch. It just works. You know, and you can play it over and over and over and over and over again. Keeps working, keeps ticking. And also the melody, how to examine a melody that might make it more interesting. You know, when you learn something, whatever it is, but music, you have to make it meaningful to yourself. And music is kind of abstract. You don't need to understand, quote unquote, music, but it's helpful. I think it's helpful. For me, I like to understand it. I mean, other people just play it, and but I think the people who just play it well, they also kind of understand it. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a little public service announcement, because I wear a certain shoe. I'm going to tell you a secret about myself. And it's made by a company called Scarpa. And Scarpa is an Italian word meaning shoe. So they sell it to Americans who don't know what the word means. But it just happens to fit my foot perfectly. And I've been buying the same shoe forever. And it's kind of a curious little shoe, because it's what's called an approach shoe. So you say, what's an approach shoe? Well, I say, let me tell you. An approach shoe is kind of in between a mountain climbing shoe and just sort of a hiking boot, I guess. So it's the shoe that you would wear as you approach the mountain. And I've been buying these shoes forever, and typically they last for about a year, and the uppers are great. They're still in great condition, but the lowers start to wear, the soles start to wear. And I thought to myself, you know, prices are going up. For the same price as buying one new pair of shoes, I could resole 3 of them. So this was one pair that I resold, okay? And this was another pair that I resold, all right? And this was a third pair that I resold. And there's a nice woman who lives in the next town over, a nice Korean woman with a little dog who is a great shoemaker. And problem is, I killed my feet. And so I'm warning you guys, you might resole a dress shoe, and it might technically be possible to resole a hiking boot, but it completely changes the whole geometry of the shoe. And it took me a while to figure that out, because I became severely lame. Because what happened was, and the shoe kind of threw all my weight towards the front, and that part of the foot there just got excruciatingly painful. And for the first time in my life, I developed a callus of some kind. I'm telling you all these personal things, but I want to save you some trouble in the future. I feel like I should share this. And I've never, ever had any foot problems, ever, really. I mean, I thought for a minute it had to do with the fact that one of the pairs had a split in it. And I thought, well, maybe it was because that was repaired incorrectly, or it was just, you know. So finally I couldn't take it anymore, and I went out and I bought a brand new pair. Brand new pair. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a brand new pair. Look at that. Oh, a brand new pair of my Scarpa shoes. And I got to tell you, I knew immediately that my problems were solved. And I did do one other thing, which I think was helpful. I went out and I bought a Dr. Scholl's little foot pad. They make all different kinds. I think, you know, there's some that are too thin. There are some that are like way overbuilt, crazy overbuilt. This is just enough padding to put in between the insole that comes with the shoe, which is pretty thin, and the bottom. And it just gave enough little padding, and it was appropriate, and it helped also to like just ease the tension of that part of the foot. And I've just never been in so much distress in my life with these. I was really lame. I'm fine now. It was great. And so that's just my warning. My warning is that I guess they really do make shoes these days very thoughtfully with computers, and they balance your weight and all of that. And this particular shoe just happens to fit my foot well. But that's my story. That's my public service announcement. Because I was always someone that took care of my shoes, liked my shoes, repaired my shoes, and of all the things that define us as human beings, that help us to relate to one another on a human scale, shoemakers, they're the foundation of society, really, and the whole shoemaking industry, of course, the shoe industry is pretty much obliterated. And now you have these new factory-made computer shoes. So they're not leather shoes anymore. They're just a whole different animal. Okay, that's enough of my shoe adventure. So let's take a look at this tune, Blue Bossa. I've talked about it in the past, but hey, let's talk about it again. Before that, do you like my new glasses? I got these glasses. Another public service announcement. I didn't go get prescription glasses because I don't really need a prescription, but I lose glasses, so I didn't want to spend a lot of money. And I've been using, the over-the-counter stuff, and I managed to find a pair that actually it's very high quality lens, and it's extraordinary. So just another little public service announcement. They do make over-the-counter lenses that are really crisp and help you to see immeasurably better, but you have to kind of seek them out. All right, enough of that. There we go. Blue Bossa. So very few songs start with an octave. There's Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but that's C minor, and you could see how it's a scale, right, moving down, right? But that's kind of outlining the chord, third root, right? So second inversion C minor. Listen to that. That's F. So you're reaching up. You're going one step above the root. Interesting, but basically it's the third and the root. So the melody is this. That's all it is. And then a lot of that theme, landing on a chord tone starting from a step above. So if you're going to improvise, right, that's kind of the thumbprint of this tune. You could make an exercise. Here's the C minor scale. That's harmonic minor. So you could go, right, and then notes from above, and then notes from below. Maybe. And then, or depending on where you are, that's sort of the sound of the tune. D minor 7 flat 5, G7 flat 9, probably flat 9, probably not just basic. Now, Next part, 251 in D flat, a half step higher. E flat minor 7, A flat 7, D flat major 7, 2, 5, 1. And then D minor 7 flat 5, G7, and of course the melody is the A flat, so that's the flat 9. But the whole tune has this right, it's not or but it could be, right? I mean, that's just an inversion of what we were doing before. So again, if you're going to improvise, you know, and then what was that? That was just a D flat major scale, but so there's the outline of the melody. So can you play the tune like this? Real simple, not so easy. Clear. Do it again. C minor, F minor, and there's the 9th, D minor 7 flat 5, G7 flat 9, C minor, E flat minor 7, A flat 7, D flat major 7, D minor 7 flat 5, G7, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, right? Just being able to do that and play it in the left hand. Both hands. Playing the chords in the right hand, melody in the left hand, or chords in the left hand and the melody in the right hand. Just basic root position, second inversion, root position, second inversion, root position, root position, second inversion, root position. Real simple. Now, playing them in other voicings, you know, sure. what did I do there? I approached that second chord, C minor to F minor, I approached it with a 2-5-1. G minor 7 flat 5, C7, sharp 5. D, instead of tritone substitution. Going up diatonically. Chromatic. So there's an idea, but you can kind of see, you can kind of get a sense of how I look at a tune and try to make sense out of it, because music is really abstract, right? It's not like you're cutting a piece of wood, you know, it's just sound. So you have to somehow make sense out of it. Music theory, okay, can be helpful. And let's just clear up one thing. A theory is a fact. Lots of facts that have been put together and tested over time. So we use the word theory kind of loosely, and sometimes when we say theory, we don't really mean theory, we mean speculation, we mean hypothesis, but you know, something that's really grounded in as much of reality as we possibly can. You know, so music theory is simply just a way to intellectualize the things that we hear and to formalize them in some way so we can access them consistently over time. So it's not an accident. You know, if everything in your life is an accident, first of all, you probably couldn't afford insurance. But secondly, you really couldn't get anything done. You know, that's the whole idea of having civilization, is to like take some of the risk out. and in a good way. I mean, life needs a little risk. Life is going to have a lot of risk anyway. You don't have to worry about the risk. The risk will take care of itself, you know. But try, you know, if you're gonna play quote unquote jazz or play spontaneously, you know, you have to have some sense of what to expect in any given situation. I mean, you may or may not be able to predict what happens. That's okay, but you always have plan A, plan B, plan C. So in this instance, you have this interesting kind of yin and yang in this tune. You have the minor, 1-4-5 or 2-5-1 in C minor, and you have the major, the 2-5-1 in D flat major, which is kind of hovering. It's almost like, I imagine, like a glass of water that's been filled, you know, just beyond the top of the glass. You have that little surface tension, right? That's, to me, that's what if I had to explain that in some kind of, as a music critic, but that's how I would explain it. You have this tension between the major and minor. Now, I find that really interesting, and I don't know of many tunes that really do that. I mean, people do it. Jazz players kind of do that, use that musical relationship, chromatic relationship. But wouldn't it be nice to make our own exercise out of it? I think it would. I don't know what you think, but I think it would. So, so 2, 5, 1 in D flat, and then 2, 5, 1 in C minor, right? Once we get to there, then I'm already on C minor. So why don't I make that the 2 chord of the major key, 2, 5, 1, and then I'm down a half step, 2. Did I do that right? Yeah. Right. So we're starting, I'll do it again. E flat, A flat, D flat, and up a half step, D, G, C, and then C, F, B flat, and then we're going up a half step, B, E, A. That's right. That's how you do it. Okay. The second time I didn't do it quite right. Now 2, 5, 1 up a half step, and then 2, 5, 1. I think I did that right. I'm getting myself confused. 2, 5, 1, E major, and then up a half step, 2, 5, 1, E flat minor. Yep. So I'm doing again, just going back to the original key, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a half step, up a 4th, down a 5th. That's the pattern. And then again, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a half step, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a half step, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a half step, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a 4th, down a 5th, up a half step, and we're back to where we started again. So C minor, A, F sharp, E flat. So what did we do? This is very interesting. We went from the key of C to the key of A, to the key of F sharp, to the key of D sharp or E flat, but we're kind of forming this diminished chord as we do that exercise. And I think I'm just discovering this as I'm doing this with you right now. And I'm blowing my mind, man. But this chord pattern kind of implies this diminished shape here, which is really quite interesting. That's the pattern. And so we're landing on these notes, right? But we've gone through 4 keys. So guess what? If you want to do the remaining keys, it's a total of 12. So you would start here, and then you would start here, and then here, and then here, and then you'd end up here, right? So that's what you would need to do to complete the exercises, right? So you'd need to start in the key of B, right, and then go either up or down, probably down like we did earlier. B, A flat, right, and then you need to do, right. Those would be your keys, right. So the first round is C minor, C minor, A flat minor, or A. What did I do? No, A minor. Pardon me. A minor. F sharp minor, I prefer that over G flat, and E flat minor, I prefer that over the D sharp. All right, spellings are a little funky, but what are we going to do? And then again, B, A flat or G sharp, F, D, right? And then the next one would be B flat, G. I'm just going down a half step, right? E and D flat, or C sharp. I don't know, C sharp maybe. Right. So those are the keys. Right. And this is how you challenge yourself. Make a little project out of something that you find interesting. And there's so many songs, but that's really the best exercise book there is. But it's hard. It's hard. Who wants to do this, right? I want to. I like to. It's not so hard if you like it, if you find it interesting. And I'm going to leave you with this. No matter how good you think you are, but don't think you're so good, because there's always someone better than you. But no matter how good, no matter how talented, no matter how hard you work, you're always going to hit a wall, and you got to know how to get over the wall or around it or through it or whatever. And to me, the best way to do it is just to make friends with it, and negotiate a settlement, and find something you like about it, and then it becomes yours. Well, that's it. A whole hodgepodge of things this week. From shoes to eyeglasses to music. So I hope you guys have a great week. And this is Jonathan the Piano Lesson signing off. Until next time, au revoir.